Thank you very much and welcome to our Pan-African Friday. My name is Jagan Asemakola Zikusoka. On another very good day. It is the 19th of August in this year 2022. It's a lovely Friday. We thank you so much for choosing to be part of us. Now, this is one of those last Fridays over the month of August. And of course, as we also get into the next phase again of the seasons in which we are. It's like I think, yes, now it is the time. They only just need to prepare us on what we need to cultivate, what we need to plant, and what we need to do at such a time, especially for the people in the countryside where they have farms and gardens and all the things. It's our Pan-African Friday today, and of course, in studios, the Pan-African team today, co-opting another Pan-Africanist who was on duty in Nairobi. It's been a very eventful week for our neighbors in Kenya when they were choosing their leader. They chose on the 9th, and of course, it took another about 7 days to announce who are the next office bearers in Kenya, especially for the position of the President of the Republic of Kenya. For the others, the senators, the gubernatorial elections, it was a penalty shootout. You know immediately, you move from the polling stations. But here is where we are today. Nduguru Garama with me in studios, once again, Karibu, and for again making it this Friday.
Asante, good morning to you, our viewers. Good morning to my comrades who I'm with here in the studio. I'm looking forward to debating this subject. I don't know if it's going to be cross-cutting and stuff.
It's going to be cross-cutting, but thank you so much for making it here. Rachel, good morning and welcome again.
Morning. Yes, it's a pleasure to be here. And of course, we remain very much in the thinking we had last week. And because I don't know whether to call it drama, it continues. But we're hoping that we'll see the back of it days.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Now, joining us in studios, our co-opted Pan-Africanist today, Ndugu Dennis Sigoa. Dennis Sigoa was in Nairobi. He was in Nairobi, in Eldoret, in Kitale, in Kisumu. He went to represent UBC to cover this election live. And of course, everything that was coming to us here, we knew was coming from an...
I've been co-opted, but I'm a Pan-Africanist.
Oh, yes. On the panel.
On the panel, I've been co-opted, but I think I've been a Pan-Africanist. I believe this is a continent with all the potential. And definitely we have to find a way of exploiting the potential rather than just talking about it. And yeah, I'm glad that I'm here.
Okay.
Last time on this show, hopefully it won't be the last time.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Karibu. When did you return from Kenya?
I returned the day before yesterday.
Okay.
I think I spent there 11 days. Yeah, 11 hectic days. Yes, and you know, as a team, I left here with my camera person to use the road because we wanted to feel the experience on ground rather than going to probably to Kasarani or Bomas of Kenya or maybe Nairobi, where everybody knows it's a commercial capital of Kenya. We thought it was just important to feel let's get down and feel the vibe, I'll say so. Right from Rachel will tell you, she's one of my media supervisors. And Malaba, Kitale, Western Kenya, that is Bungoma, Kakamega, down to Kisumu. I think we returned to Kisumu like thrice, Eldoret twice, Nakuru, to name but just a few.
Okay.
But it was...
While majority of the people went and camped in Nairobi,
yes,
you were moving in some other parts of
Yes,
Kenya.
yes. I thought we are the national broadcasters, UBC. Basically, we work for we don't need to, it's not just catering for the elite, but also for the common mwananchi, which I thought was, if you to compare us and the rest, you realize we really focused on the common man and not about because the common man, what was their expectation, what was their feeling about what was happening in their country, all the election and everything else, what was the appeal to their leaders, to the people whom they are going to vote for in the general election that has just ended in 2022.
The memories of December 2007, January 2008 are still very fresh in many of the Kenyans out there, and it was such a very long time.
Yeah,
and
sure.
you know, elections are very divisive in Kenya, in Africa, and I think everywhere. So when they get to those moments, what was the feeling like when they were gearing to these days to actually see Kenyatta exit office and choose between Baba and
Ruto, the hustler, the president, the self-proclaimed president of the hustler nation.
Hustler nation.
So I would say that of course, like you say, elections were the voters were not that, they were not so much into politics, I would say so. I was in so many places, and in our discussion, actually most people didn't want to talk so much about the politics. I think the 2007 like you've said, once beaten, twice shy. The 2000 post-election violence really hurt so many people, and what they were preaching about, they were preaching peace, and what they just wanted peace after the election. And everyone I will talk to, they will tell you, for us, we're not even intending to go to the streets and riot. They actually, what they wanted is have the Electoral Commission giving them the right tally, results to come out, but it should be genuine results, so that we don't go back to what happened in 2007. But everyone you talk to, they'll tell you this is actually going to be the most peaceful election in Kenya, and we're not surprised that it's actually, I would say, the most peaceful election that country has held in its democratic era. So, and presidential candidates, all of them have been there. I would say they are in one or another in power, you know. Of course, because of the BBI, that is a Building Bridges initiative, where, of course, there was a handshake between Raila and Uhuru. So Raila was co-opted into government, you know. That also brings in the issue of, like, actually in this election, who was the opposition? No, who was the opposition?
Exactly.
Yeah, the question was there an opposition anyway? So, and it made it very interesting, because in this case it looked like everybody, it was more like almost everyone was an incumbent.
Incumbent
versus incumbent. And of course, on the other side, the president of the hostile nation, one or another, was seen as the opposition, because you would feel as if the government was trying to have someone else taking out. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. That's Dennis Goa. Dennis Goa was in Nairobi. He was in elections petitions also, because you know, elections are an entire process. They start from wherever they start, and of course until court says, court has all three things to say. Court either has to give the petitioners what they ask for and say it was a null and void election, so you go and redo it. Court can actually say there was 1, 2, 3 things that of course cannot dismiss your petition. They have only 3 things to give, and that's what we are waiting to see from the courts in Kenya, where Baba Raila, of course, says part of the democratic things or the democratic ways. Very shortly, we'll be joined by Professor Herman Manyora, also from Kenya, who shall give us his opinion on what we think this should be like. But I'll start with you, Rachel. I talk about election petitions. We've had them, we've seen them. To some people, it's just travesty. It's just more presidential election. We saw that during the times of Maraga. And what happens is that when you look at the bench in Kenya, the Supreme Court bench is 4 of the justices who were there the other day, Bakal is still there now, and amazingly 3 of those agreed in Maraga. You know, for the 4 judges that said this should be quashed, the 3 Bakal is still there, and 1 who dissented is also still there. So it's coming back to them again. Now that's what we're trying to propose in Kenya. And when Peter Mutharika won the election, Lazarus Chakwera, Peter Mutharika's vice president, and I think Prime Minister, all decided to take their boss to court. And when they went to court, the justice, the court there, difficult scenario, because theirs again can be appealed against. So they also went to court, and they said it was a null and void election, so you go it. Mutharika had an opportunity to actually appeal against what they had done, but as an incumbent, getting that level would actually be stooped too low. We saw it in Ghana. We've seen it in several other countries where it is ended just like that. We talk about election petitions, but we will focus mainly on Uganda, Kenya, and possibly the rest of that we'll have in there. What should the people of Kenya wait for? Maina Kiai, whether they know what happened in the case, but so it's now Maina Kiai who has now become almost like Ideri in Kenya.
I think that what's happening in Kenya is the coming of age emerging as a defining factor in Kenyan national life. I think what is also about accurate. Maybe not 100%, but that is really about what it really is in real terms. But the people of Kenya have finally, from, for example, what the incumbent would have on a good day, is it talks, for example, I'm thinking that really what we think happened is really what they are confident. They are prepared. It is not as if a judicial outcome or a judicial process is not something that they had on the cards. In actual fact, Chief Justice Martha Koome is on record saying they're quite prepared. One way or the other, they will do what they need to do. But I'm sure that they have been emboldened by Mr. Chebukati's actions. Even when there are people who think you should not go a certain way, the pressure is intense, the expectations are many, and the precedent to do what needs to be done, given the facts. I would be surprised if the Supreme Court of Kenya should go to the point of doing what Mr. Maraga did, as in
Free and fair election.
Yeah.
I think we're met. I don't think, even Mr. Raila, I know in his heart of hearts,
He knows.
he knows
that.
this was done.
And you see, Article 80, I think Article 82 or 83 of the Constitution of Kenya talks about the IEBC and the form of election that they're supposed to be organizing. And they say it should be an election of accountability.
Yes.
A transparent a transparent election with accountability. And I think this is what Kenyans are seeing. To see the tallies on screens, on you know.
And that is why the violent outburst across the land. There were some pockets.
skirmishes here and there.
Yes, here and there. Because there is a consensus from the north of Kenya to the south, from the east to the west, that Mr. Chebukati's team job. Not a perfect job, but a good job. And Mr. Chebukati, he really bent, he tries to a very high degree to deliver, to cover the basics. You said the last time that the transmission was faulty. You said the last time that the vote counting was questionable. And it is important to note that Mr. Raila is by far and large not saying that it is a stolen election. He's not saying that. And I don't think that is by accident.
And in his own words, he also doesn't say he won the election.
No.
Yeah, because he says
That is very critical.
Yeah, he also doesn't say I won the election.
You're
He
very
stole the
right,
election.
yeah. Yes.
Times past. Because it is an unsustainable argument. This court of law is fair and sober.
Okay.
So, going forward, I started by saying that Kenya has come, it has grown.
It has come of age.
It has come of age. The institutions have come of age. The fact that, I began by saying, the fact that the incumbent, with all the power and authority and with all the they were like, look, we know what is good for us. You may agree with them, you may not agree with them, but they voted that way. The rest of Kenya also voted according to their conviction. That puts Kenya head and shoulders, many paces.
Very shortly, we'll have Professor Herman Manyora on Zoom with us. Lakini, let's get to this. And I think, I thank you, Sugo and Rachel in there. In 2013, when they had just had the new constitution, they had their first election, Raila went to court. When Raila went to court, Uhuru Kenyatta, because it was Dr. William Mutunga, who they knew, or they thought that Raila had influenced, Raila had, was that these are indictees of the ICC, and they even qualify in the first place to appear on the ballot. What about if the ICC comes for them, the president and the vice president, then what will happen over a nation? The ruling was very clean. Dr. Mutunga has had a very clean ruling. In 2017, when they go to court, Raila goes to court again, but he says, I am in a court that I do not trust because Uhuru and Ruto influenced the coming in of Maraga. Now, in 2017, the judge was construed to be a Raila man. In 2017, he was construed to be a Uhuru Ruto person. But when they go to court, when he goes to the court, I didn't trust. The court said, you asked for this and this and this and this, and I think, yes, we find a problem with this, so go and redo the election. To sue the IEBC, to sue each and everything now in Kenya, and again Chebukati. And the court said, no, we can't keep with this forever. But there are issues. Looking at the ruling of the 2017, of course, when they reorganized the NASA alliance, they took them back to court again. And until the court said, we dismiss all these petitions. We've seen these things happening and coming in. Raila says, I'll still go. Now, he has had two from the courts under their new constitution. A dismissal and, of course, an agreement for what he had gone for. He's back the third time. What is very ulterior this time is 4 of the justices who were there are actually still there. It's back to them again. And Kenyans are watching. Kenyans are looking. Is it about the making or it's about giving the people?
I have consistently said that elections everywhere, placed there his people whom he knew he could rely on.
Strategically.
That's the word. When time came, it was a question of when, not if. The problem was those he was up against, if I would be permitted to use the against, very well gauge his abilities and how far he had penetrated the system. It was written all over the faces of whoever you would come to, be it in Kenya, those ones in certain circles, here in Uganda, that this time around, Odinga is going to carry the day. Little did they know that the carpet had been removed under the feet of the Odinga and those who were supporting him.
The red carpet.
Completely. What happens therefore is that those of us who painfully have been everyday student of elections and the political happenings globally, you realize that what happened in Kenya was largely informed by the 2017 post overriding, that the process of transmission was problematic. If we cannot have 34A having congruence with 34B, translating into 34C, then what is going to happen? These imperfections, malfunctions, if at any one given time, and this is what the justice said in the Maraga ruling, if these kind of complaints come back to this particular court another time, regardless of who the participants in the elections are, this court will be inclined to arrive at the same decision it has arrived on today. What did that mean? That Comrade Chebukati had to go back and purge all the gaps, the holes.
To avoid the other
Issue of transmission is transparent and at least cannot be on the apparent, on the face of it, cannot be questioned. And this is what he did. It therefore gives me comfort in stating that what Comrade Odinga and team are taking to the Supreme Court this time around is really hard paper for them. I don't know what they are going to present to persuade the bench either to annul or to order a recount, because even in ordering a recount, you see, what the other commissioners did, just political dissatisfaction. The Electoral Commission of Kenya, as the chairman of that particular body, in the case of presidential election, as a single returning officer, with powers, the chairman Chebukati did that. What did it does not say that the commissioners, they will have a debate with their chairperson and agree on who to announce. That would be usurping the powers of the people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
So-
it would be a referendum of the commission
Yes.
to find the president for the nation.
I witnessed the madam, the deputy chairperson of
Cherera.
the electoral
Madam
commission.
Juliana.
And in that parallel press briefing she was having, and I was like, oh my God, what is my... I couldn't make out what she was telling the public. Unfortunately, this is an election where, like I said, even the commissioners, and this was very much witnessed, thought that the winner was going to be Comrade Odinga. Now, when you are under that kind of capture, it becomes get those results. It becomes very difficult for you to make an informed decision. Like my sister Takari here observed.
Yeah.
But I saw her as soon as we were entering the electoral process in Kenya. She even issued a circular to all courts, putting them on one. Be ready to receive petitions and handle them expeditiously. I want to believe that this is a petition that is going to be handled expeditiously, meticulously, with no doubt in my mind that whatever decision they are going to arrive at will be in the best interest of the Kenyans, but most importantly, also informed by facts and law.
Okay, thank you very much. I just don't know whether Professor Papa Manyora is already there with us. My producer will let us know, and of course share the number for feedback, the number for feedback for people to send their comments, WhatsApp and text messages, whatever they want to do to be part of this. We talk about a disputed presidential election, and of course it keeps happening. One of the things actually that got Kenya into writing their new constitution, the 2010 constitution, how do you adjudicate that? And of course that's how we saw the bench of the 7 justices of the Supreme Court coming on. You were in Kenya for this election, and you've seen how Kenyans do their things and how it all. What's the mood like for especially the two camps, the winning camp and the camp that did not win? I don't want to call it the losing camp, but the camp that did not win, because all these are there. Now, the Kenya Kwanza team is just saying, we're waiting. And the beauty with presidential elections petitions is they have it, you can't go beyond. When you look, Raila Odinga and his legal team have until Monday to make sure that the courts have everything that they need. But you are talking about a presidential election, and your constituency is the whole country.
They had agents.
You are talking about, that's what I'm saying, but we need to make sure that you have everything in there, because you don't want to be before the justices of the Supreme Court and you're trying to find, and you're shabby. You know, the law doesn't allow for that. What thing like in Kenya, where you just came from a few days ago?
I will say that looking at after the results were released, you know, I wouldn't say that many people were shocked. Well, of course, there were 2 areas where we're supposed to cover. That is either we go to Kisumu, be in Nairobi, or Eldoret. But Eldoret is where that is the stronghold of Raila, of Ruto, and Kisumu is a stronghold.
Stronghold bases.
Yes, we are all on this. As if you. So one, I think nobody was shocked, and I remember even when I went to the Tallying Center in Kisumu, after the results had been relayed, you will see the mood, and you will notice that people were talking, just whispering, and definitely it will show you. It was. I was with someone and he said, "You see, if it seems it's bad news." Then I asked him, "Don't you think, from the way these guys are talking, do you think they should be happy by now if the results were in their favor?" But one thing that I also realized that as early as 6 a.m., they conversed about the election for the entire day. So it actually made my life very easy when I wanted to do a piece, because I just come in, set my equipment up at the tripod, and guys come in like, "Hey, I've come with a topic," and you'll have very eloquent people willing to talk to you, you know. And very well educated people, I would say so. The same applies to Eldoret. There's a certain place called Silverline, and it was the same thing. But I would the country, if Raila Odinga was declared the president, if the results were in favor of Raila Odinga, because if you had followed up on the tally right from the word go, by the time the media was stopped from relaying the results, of course, everybody could access the online portal. It looked like already Ruto was ahead by about 300,000 votes. So basically, and by the time they were stopped, you know very well how many.
And the balance there is about 700,000.
About 700,000, and you know, with 700,000. If you're to look at you definitely know that for someone who's been following up on this, you realize that it will be it will have been very difficult for Raila to pull off a 700,000 without, of course, Ruto Ruto getting at least a significant chunk of it.
Even Roots Party spoiling a few.
Yes, spoiling a few.
Roots Party also had to spoil a few.
One is like you picking it from the mood, from the people. You will realize that when the numbers started coming through, if you follow, I followed it, and you notice that the Mount Kenya region really played a big role in deciding on who is going to be the winner of this. Because one, and I think you give credit to William Ruto, like so many people you talk about, like Ruto started climbing Mount Kenya in 2013. You know, they say the ascending Mount Kenya, going up Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya is a voting block where you know very well in Kenya.
Ndugu the elder, Kiai, no, he's not Kiai, Kiago.
Yes.
And Kiago was actually saying, we had supported Raila Odinga because we wanted to maintain our own kingpin in Uhuru Kenyatta. But Kenyans have
like he said
the card is the priest in Rubaga.
The
card, some card the chief is actually in Rubaga. You preaching there, you say, how did a Muslim come into Rubaga now?
You know what he said was very clear. It was a matter of underestimating. You know, often you go, like, for example, for people who go watch a lot of boxing, you know, if you watch boxing, they say the moment you drop your guard, it's a KO. That's a knockout. So you always have to make sure you guard. You know, most cases they punch you on the head. So if someone gets one shot, it is done. So one thing, they underestimated this man. And all over, from the time I think Ruto now started, right from the time, the 1992, and Moi gave him a platform to start selling himself. With the 1992 YK92, where he was the ball boy, I would say so, where he wasn't the boy who told you pick this, take this one. Because, you know, right. After some time, he actually realized here, still about 10 years or 15, he had developed, he had roots inside Mount Kenya, and he had managed to convince people, I'm your own, you know, and I'm not convincing I'm your own, you know. So by the time I think when in one or another, when this thing happened, when they went to this election after the BBI, he realized it seems here I'm going to have a problem. You know, it looks like my friend, whom people used to say they walk around like conjoined twins, has decided to shift base betrayal. Just know here you're fighting with the system. You're now in you're actually having a contest with your immediate supervisor. You know, your immediate supervisor can anytime even could terminate your contract. But the fact is this: it became so hard for him for them to get rid of him. Why? Because unlike probably if I'm to compare Uganda and Kenya, there you run for a ticket. When you're contesting for presidency, the vice president also has powers. So finally, we're done with you, I'm replacing you with so and so. You know, this is whereby it is an issue where it cannot be tackled that way. That's why you see Ruto also was so smart. He said, I'm not, even when they really frustrated him and they wanted him out of the party and out of that's how they ended up destroying Jubilee. He didn't want to leave because he knew if the moment you are out there, you're the opposition. The moment you resign and you decide to run a parallel campaign, which obviously now it's an attack, you're on the other side, you'll now be dealt with as a what? By whoever, of course, the powers that the guys who are running the show.
So now, maybe information, comrade, also just a small one here.
Yes.
I don't think that Ruto could have just resigned.
Yes.
He has a mandate, as much of a mandate as Uhuru.
Yes.
They all went and probably and the fly on the wall says that if anything, it is Ruto who shopped for the votes to make Uhuru the president. Why would he now resign
which is not the Kenyan scenario?
Yes.
Because you have now seen Ruto has come in with Gachagua.
Yes.
So he is with Gachagua until 2027.
That is it.
And if he wants to come back on the ballot again with Gachagua, it has to be the same thing. So you can't get to a point where you say, I am now relieving Gachagua and picking on maybe Anwar Guru or another person. It doesn't happen like that.
Unless Gachagua himself
exactly. And you see, those who were arguing it from that angle, we're trying to prompt a situation like the one in South Sudan. That when one strong man down there called Dr. Riek Machar, he had to be bolted out by Salva Mayardit to say, no, it is my government. I am the president.
Yes.
And you know, it caused all these issues. He said, whether you are what, I can release you and go. It doesn't happen in Kenya. And you see, even when President Kenyatta was talking about it, he said, "Sasa huyu mdomo mdomo tu, kazi kazi." He didn't help me. That's why I had to find somebody to help me do the work, and not somebody who just makes a noise. The Big Four, because when the handshake came in, some professors in Kenya have argued and said the handshake was a death sentence to the whole plan. The handshake itself was a death sentence to Uhuru's legacy, to Raila's legacy, to the Jubilee administration. It actually killed a party called Jubilee. Because Jubilee had gained steam, it had come, and you can now try to fight Jubilee and find the Jubilee. But that's of course where we are. Rachel, this election, of course, had its own issues. The trust in institutions, like we say, and you see the trust in institutions, like you're saying, but yet again, it is one other institution here called the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the IEBC, established by an act of parliament. They've had their elections act. Recall a member of parliament, or you can. The elections act, we do not have that here. You need to make a referendum to say we are tired of our MP who is adjudicating over a jurisdiction of 3,000 voters. You need to go into national referendum, which of course can happen. But looking at the institution, of course, the IEBC itself,
should be taken out.
They actually
to remove that.
It's hard to remove because the power is supposed to remove it, benefit from it.
Okay.
Rachel,
We take it to court.
This thing called a presidential election petition, as we can see, it happens. Do you think the trust, of course, that they tried it in 2013, and the court said, no, we can't cancel an election. Then everybody said it's a normal African thing. In 2017, the court said, go back and redo the election. They saw that. And in 2017, when Raila Odinga decided not to come back for this election, that actually interpreted that decision as though it was a rerun between two men. Some young man called Okuro Ekot went to court. And on that same day, when Raila was making a press conference to say, we are leaving Kenyatta with this thing, we will not run. Court side actually telling, they've had both scenarios. They've had one successful one. If it's football to us, we say, we had a win one side, we had a loss one side.
The other side, yeah.
So what happens now? Do you think the Kenyans still look at this course and say, we'll see Maraga, Siri too?
The Kome, I would say this time is Kome.
Will Kome be Maraga?
I think there is anyone who expects Kome to try and retrace the steps of Maraga. She's who she is, and she has her own experiences and so on and so forth. But I think what everyone has begun to understand is, as I said, this is finally beginning to become a nation. You know, many of us, African societies, we are nations within a nation. Kenya has been struggling with that particular situation that we call ethnic overtones. And despite the setbacks that some may be fatal even, that Mr. Kenyatta has suffered, I think he was trying to do something about those chronic divisions. Maybe he was trying to see that they arrive at a place such as where Nigeria finds itself, where they have an informal arrangement, the swing between the Christians and the Muslims, a little close to where Tanzania finds itself, where they have this understanding that if it's a Christian this time, a Muslim the other time around. It has worked for them. And I suspect that Mr. Kenyatta will do something along those very lines. Having seen that the Gikuyus had their run for an unbroken run for so many years, followed by the Kalenjins, I think he tried to retrace a step towards his own mark on the history of Kenya. But I also mentioned a week ago that I know for a fact that Mr. Kenyatta puts Kenya this time. It will require concerted effort over many decades for these divisions to disappear. And so even in the dying days of his presidency, for him to now think that he could, in the end, he has not been able to overcome. But that being as it may, still overall the people of Kenya recognize that this groupthink, or the common way of doing things, must overtake personal agendas. That they have come to accept. That is why the people of Nyanza are not doing what would ordinarily be expected of them. As in the fact that Elu is not likely to take the top seat in the short term, does not take away Kenya. The fact that you're a member of the Kalenjin group does not make you more than Kenya. I'm trying to answer your question in a roundabout way. The institution of the Supreme Court will come out head and shoulders higher than this particular situation, because more than anyone else, they understand the place of legacy, they understand the place of leadership, they understand the place of sober. Of course, I imagine that those top league officers, I'm sure they voted too. You may find that many of them voted for Raila. But when it comes to, the push comes to shove, I know they will rise to the occasion and do right by Kenya. Kenya has reached a place where there is no individual that can override the will of Kenya. They have decided they want a society that is prosperous, a society that is stabilizing more and more with every passing day. They have decided that there is a cost to that sort of thing. It may cost you as an individual, but it helps us all in the end. And so that will strengthen the position of Mr. Chebukati and those who follow in the days to come by, in the days to follow. Even when there are shortcomings as an individual, the fact that everyone recognizes that this man worked very, very hard to make sure that Kenya is a better society than he found it. No consensus will prevail. That is where we are.
National consensus will prevail.
Yes.
And I think the other thing, of course, that when Maraga gave us the ruling that he gave to us, there were lots of questions, of course, because Kenyans were trying out their constitution.
Yep.
The situation in Uganda is that you needed then 21 days. The time Kenya was benchmarking a constitution, we needed 21 days. They pushed it to 60 days. Justice Mutunga couldn't get there. Maraga gave it a try, and they just discovered they couldn't redo an election in 60 days. Some of the demands that he actually said, what about if there is another election that has also not come the best way? Yes. What will happen? And I think that's a ruling that you just read to us here. Say, we need certain things to be changed before you even actually get back into an election. But the Constitution has got a framework, a time frame, that you're supposed to do these things in 60 days. And now that is where we are. That is what is actually happening. And that's what we're trying to examine and see. What about if they again say, let us redo this election? The question, do they have enough time to patch all the holes into the system to actually ensure that they get there? And I think this is where it is. And maybe we would also love to know from all of you here, the conduct of the four. Because in Maraga's court, 7 justices, minutes or just a couple of hours to the final declaration, when everybody, including us Ugandans who are actually just watching on TV, you know, we're just on tension as if this was a wrong thing. Exactly. And somebody says we disown the results that are coming out.
I hope Odinga has listed them as his witnesses.
No, but I think they should be, because we need to know.
No, the national disgrace.
No, comrade.
No, let's take a break. Let's take a break, then return. And when we come back from the break, we continue on with the conversation of how elections on the continent of Africa can be adjudicated if there are disputes. We'll return.
National Council for Higher Education will hold the 4th Annual Higher Education Conference on the 14th and 15th September 2022. The conference theme is Enhancement of Teaching, First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Honorable Janet Kataha Museveni. The conference will be held physically at Hotel Africana for only invited guests and open to online participants via Zoom webinar that will be shared under the events section at www.unche.or.ug. The keynote speakers are Ezra Nazim, Senior Fellow of Higher Education Academy UK, Professor Henk Gerald Sola, a Dutch organizational theorist and Emeritus Professor of Business, Engineering and ICT at Groningen University, the Netherlands. The National Council for Higher Education is receiving papers from researchers and scholars for publication in the Uganda Higher Education Review, Journal of National Council for Higher Education. For more details, send inquiries to cmuhumuza@unche.or.ug, info@unche.or.ug, or call 0783 040024 or 0704 800926 plus 256 39 32 62 140/4.
It's Freaky Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift, buy or give.
Get freaky too! Dial *149*10# to load a Freaky Friday bundle.
Family, dial *149*10*5#. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or gift a bundle today. Dial *149*10# to get started. Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really? Okay. So how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions, and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number, and you send it to her chap.
My friend, yes, we talk about it.
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera, refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Forget last season. Forget the whoos and the ahs. Forget every moment that stole the show, because the real show is here on GoTV. It's the new season. It's action-packed, and it's going to be non-stop football. With over 1,000 games from more than 7 leagues and cup competitions, plus a World Cup. Make sure you get the best seat in the house this new football season. Non-stop football. GoTV Uganda. Love it.
One-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwa.
A weekly face-to-face conversation focusing on accountability, inspiration, information.
Having a disability is not inability.
Professional guidance.
There is no special antiretroviral therapy that is given specifically for discordant couples.
And of course, politics.
Don't you see anywhere that you would give a credit in the fight against?
Be preoccupied by giving credit to my servant.
We have said that if we are to talk to General Museveni, there must be certain conditions in place.
Is it true that you paid 5 million shillings to MPs that voted for Anita Monga and Talebo?
That is laughable. Would we pay when we have nominated them as SEC?
Every party has been represented in Uganda's parliament for 10 years. We only
by one MP, you yourself
and my daughter, Susan.
Every Friday 9 p.m. it's One-on-One with Michael Jordan Lukomwa on UBC TV, inspiring Uganda.
Well, it's just 11 minutes of the over 10 o'clock. It's on Pan-African Friday, and of course, in our next hour, here at UBC TV. My name is Jagan Asemakola Ziksoka. Of course, looking at election petitions on the continent of Africa, but of course, focusing on Kenya more so, Uganda, of course, the other country, and elsewhere where it's been. How do we, on the continent, adjudicate whenever we have violences for these other local positions? But when it comes to the president, for you to participate, should be on your screen. You can send us a message on WhatsApp or a text message. It's just a number to send a text message or WhatsApp. The number should be on your screens for you to be able to participate and tell us what you think, wherever you are and whatever you think about the conversation. But most especially what is happening in Kenya, to see, will the courts in Kenya, the 7 justices there, do what they did in 2017? We wait to see, and what should be, or what we expect will be the ramifications of any result. It is either to say there were issues but won't cancel the election, we should cancel the election, or to dismiss the petition of the Azimio la Umoja coalition. But wait to see. When you were coming on, let me hear from you once again.
What happens in real life when it comes to elections is that you certainly would expect that one losing party, because there is nothing like joint winners. One party has to lose. Now, it matters a lot how you take the loss. What happens is that when you look at the case of Uganda, especially immediately after the coming into office of our current leadership, the NRM, there has been a number of presidential election petitions. I do not, in all of them, there has been points where the justices have said, you need to improve here, you need to improve here, as far as the electoral process is concerned. I think the most telling was the senior comrade Amama Mbabazi's petition, where they recommended about 9 to 11, and where Makerere University Law School was invited as amicus curiae. They presented very beautiful views. My brother, Dr. Businje, was part of that team.
The amicus team?
Yes. And a number of them, I think, Dr. Rueza and probably also Professor who is this of Hurpek was also part of the team. And the submissions they made, and this other brother of mine also, Jude, Yamkama, Saverino, Tinosinje, in my opinion, really, they did a good job. The president's team also put up a very spirited fight. But my interest is in the recommendations which were made, and I think majority of those recommendations, save for changing the name of the Electoral Commission
to Independent
Electoral Commission, majority of them have really not been worked on. And this is the dilemma. This is what we should be looking at. That when the courts make pronouncements, and in this case
had come through the Majesi bill.
You see, that is the hypocrisy again. That is the hypocrisy of our leadership. Big time hypocrites. And this is very unfortunate, because you see, political leadership is actually trust that is given to you by the people, and you are supposed you exercise it for and on behalf of the people. But when you look at what some of our members in political office, the courage, if they do, to go back and tell the electorate that whatever I did it for the good of my party. But when the party itself and the electorate who actually make, we've seen a number of presidential election petitions in the case of Uganda. And speaking for myself, I want to believe that, because I have read majority of them, I want to believe that in majority of them, where the justices say that the imperfect, you find that it is not, first of all, cheap to hold an election. But what is very fundamental for me as a person who has been at the helm of helping out in the election, you can never have what we call a perfect election. That is not there. Because an election, there is so much that goes into it. We have got budgetary constraints, that is to do with finances. We have got an electorate voter education. The voter education which is carried out is either haphazard, which is also not properly funded. I don't know if that is deliberate or not, that is another thing. I have also gotten an opportunity where I have carried out deep studies in civic education in relation to elections management as part of my PhD studies. I can tell you that the levels of civic awareness in this country and elsewhere, by the way, are extremely very low, and we're not doing enough. We are not doing enough, if we are doing anything, to make sure that we improve the same. Therefore, when you are in a situation where, a situation where in majority of these elections, registered voters, we are talking about 18 million. How many were we in the rest, Uganda, that is now, was to that? But how many people turned up to vote? You see? Now, when you have got declining, and the voter register, by the way, forget about these people who, for purposes of social register, was tampered with, and it is bearing fictitious names. The trouble that the Electoral Commission goes through to clean up that register is not simple. The public fatigue as a consequence of an electorate that has not been empowered civically, voter fatigue as a consequence of an electorate sees no returns from those they have put into political offices. And when you, for instance, I would also further state that probably had Uhuru and the team mobilized effectively for their cause, to make sure that they tap into the 22, 23, about that number, who are registered. And we didn't have the people who turned up to vote. Probably they would have tilted that in their favor. I can assure you, at least with some measure of, he should have won by well over 2 million. That he did what he did. Situation, therefore, in Uganda, the presidential election petitions is not different from what we have witnessed elsewhere. Granted, in Malawi, we had the overturning of an election in a number of African countries. You go to Ghana, you look at how these elections are held. And I can tell you that Ghana has also been benchmarking Uganda. You remember, it was a madam, I think, the lady chairperson.
Yeah.
He said, I can even take months to make sure that I deliver to the people, not just my figures, but the figures that has come from those who woke up early in the morning and cast their vote. So please, give me time. I would rather, and I think this is what Chebukati also did. The same thing that Honorable Justice Byabakama tells people. Now, you have to give it to Uganda. Within 48 hours, you were already aware that this is what? This is what has happened.
The outcome.
I can assure you that the transmission, as somebody who has been in the practical
election management,
leave alone the presidency, is not a walk in the park.
Sure. Come to this now. You see the situation in Malawi. In Malawi, when there was that election, of course, they had to go to court. But with a very different law, that when they went to court, Peter Wamutharika was appointing cabinet, he was running government, he was doing all the things. Why? And it took almost a whole year, because that's a process, that's a system, and that's how it happens. Now, courts say there was fraud in election, so we're going to redo the election. But this man has already appointed ministers, he has already appointed commissioners, etc., in parastatals and all the things. To us here, when Besigye went to court in 2001, I think, and 2006, and I think 2011. He didn't go in 2011.
The most defining was 2006.
2006, yes. The most defining was 2006 for Dr. Kizza Besigye.
That's when he was nominated from Ruzira?
From Ruzira, yes, in 2005.
Against the advice of the Attorney General?
Exactly. When Betty Kami actually, Betty Kami stood in, when FD. Now, the ruling of 2016, the Amama Mbabazi versus Museveni, is another very fundamental one to our jurisprudence. It gave us an increment of time. Within the streets, there was no business working and happening. The Kenyan law is very clear that Uhuru Kenyatta, after the 9th of August this year, the only thing he can do is to chair cabinet meetings. He can't appoint, he can't sack, he can't
appoint, he can't disappoint.
He can't appoint, he can't disappoint. Today, he's actually just waiting. Yes, the only thing he can do is come, sit in cabinet, and take a few views here and there, and then the power is literally good. The power has actually moved from him. He's just waiting.
He's actually seen in public for the first time
yesterday.
About 12 days. Or
yes, exactly.
13 days yesterday.
Yes, exactly. So he's only just holding on to power, waiting to say, who do I give it to? Courts Munyambie, Nimpe Ruto or Nfanyija?
But then again on that issue, maybe just to cut you a little bit, it's about now, if you had the speech yesterday, Gachagua was saying that until today, Uhuru has not in one or another congratulated the winner. And Gachagua said that it seems he's not interested. So even if he doesn't do so, when all these dramas, whatever the Supreme Court case takes place on ceremony, maybe to Mr. Rugarama, and so how does this work? Because some people say even Trump was against the results, but then we have Biden as the president today.
And you see, it happens because Barack Obama did not want to give this thing to Trump.
Absolutely.
He did everything that he could do to ensure. Yes, exactly. He did everything and said, I must give it this lady.
We
But
must also go back and realize the bad blood between Gachagua and Uhuru.
And Uhuru.
As his former PA, you very well know that the treatment which Gachagua has been getting from Uhuru, including ransacking his home, undressing him before his wife and children, closing his bank accounts, freezing them, making business very difficult, opening criminal cases against him in anti-corruption court. There is no way you expect Gachagua now as
the vice president,
somebody coming into office as a deputy president, to speak well of Uhuru. The Waganda say atakurekera tumurekera.
So in response to what Mr. Sigor was saying, he actually ended with a question: how does this work? I think, borrowing a leaf from people who've been down this path for many years, and we like to return to the US of late because they had a president who really blew everything up as we knew it. But I think, having said that, Kenya has come into its own. It's edging towards the stability of older ago, when Japan had a serious turnover of prime ministers. But because the bureaucracy was so solid, it continues seamlessly. Israel has also had this one on occasion. But when the bureaucratic prime minister, of course there are limitations to the efficiency, but life continues. I remember very well that these very questions came to the fore when the transition came between Mr. Trump and Biden. We know that Trump really did not want to go.
Yeah, sure.
But the institutions could not allow him to stay.
He was even shocked the way that he had lost. And this is what, Rachel, if you will permit me, this is that we are talking about Kenya, the American example that you have just given. There is very stiff competition, and you can see that it's the thin line between the opposition, the same thing in Ghana, and the government the leadership in power. Here, I can tell you that even when we talk about cheating at the level of presidency, in all fairness, I do not think that the opposition in Uganda, don't take me into the debate of whether they are allowed to do very good campaigns, and that's a very different thing altogether. I will not go there, but I will tell you that as it is, the opposition, can anybody, you must be intellectually dishonest, put up a stiff challenge to the existing NRM leadership, that therefore we say the cheating has been to a magnitude that actually the NRM would have lost at the level of the presidency. Now, what we need to work on, therefore, in Uganda is to make sure that there is political willingness, if we are multi-party, dispensed country, to allow the work. Let them, as much as humanly possible, within the law, be allowed to campaign, present their manifesto, and then we see who is who. Cases, you can see that they are unfairly treated. Then they will always have an excuse that will